Right, okay. Hi guys, James from DBG, and welcome to another video on stuff and what I have just finished painting. This is about the 8th time I've started filming this. My family are on something this morning. They just running around making noise, and my mic is so sensitive it picks up every little thing. Anyway, enough of that. So as you can see, for a change, we're back to bolt action. And these are some units to bulk out my 8th Army and to combine some of the 8th Army miniatures in with some Far East miniatures so I can go up against the Japanese that you saw in the Island Assault box. Just small 750.4s. So what have we got? Well, we have sample Australian Militia. I'll talk about more of those in a minute. We have another lieutenant and attendant. We have some Sikh infantry. We have a 25-pounder. This is specifically the Pacific one. We have 2 Bren carriers and we have a M3 Stuart. And it's not the broken Stuart 1 with all the MGs. It's the Stuart 3. Anyway, so they're all warlord games. There is a little bit of a height difference between, because these guys are metal, obviously these guys are plastic. There's a small height difference, but you won't notice it on the tabletop. So these Australian Militia, they're specifically in the Australian book representing the I believe it's the 39th Battalion that fought on the Kokoda Trail in New Guinea. They actually did really well, even though they weren't rated as very good troops. The Australian Army had a rating system, and I think they were rated as garrison troops only, which are not very good. But they did amazingly well, and then turned into a veteran unit and did amazingly well throughout the rest of the war. Then we've got the Sikhs. The Sikh but were both in the Indian Army and the British Army throughout the Second World War. They fought in Africa, they fought in Italy, and all across the Southwest Pacific and Far East and Burma. And even Winston Churchill, who was a massive racist, who didn't really like Indians, said their bravery was second to none in the British and Commonwealth forces. Then we have over here the 25-pounder. Now, as I said, this is the Pacific one. I have painted it, or I've painted the gun the correct colour. It should be green. But even the artillery and vehicles in Burma were painted green, because Burma is heavily jungled. Well, not so much in Malaya and Singapore, but all the infantry still wore khaki. They didn't change to jungle green until late 42, 43. And even then, people were still wearing khaki and even battle dress. Which seems odd in that humid, disgusting climate. Anyway, but I've painted the guys in North Africa colours just to tie in with the rest of the 8th Army Force, even though it's historically incorrect. I know there's some river counters that are probably twitching about that. We've got the Bren carriers. They're specifically for my 8th Army Force, but if they pop into the Far East Force, then no one else is going to know. And then the Stuart 3. Again, this Stuart is part of this. I'm painted it as part of the 7th Armoured Brigade, which was detached from the 7th Armoured Division and sent over to Burma when the Japanese invaded. And they were pivotal in making sure as many troops as possible made it across Burma back into India to start the fight against the Japanese again. Then they were sent back to Italy, I think, in 1943. Or Sicily. Yeah, basically they were redeployed from Burma back to the North African Italian theatre of operations, or even Mediterranean, I should say. So yeah, let's have a look at a few, like I normally do. Let's have a look at some of them. So as I said, these guys are Australian, and they still wore the khaki uniforms. They're also based for the North Africa one, mainly to tie in with the North African force, which is substantial. So yeah, he's got his bush hat. Again, if he was in the Pacific, the bush hat would be green. You have the NCO with the Tommy gun. Yeah, I might need to relook at the eyes on this dude. Interesting. This is a militia unit. The Lmg Gunner actually has a Lewis gun, not a Bren, because they were quite ill-equipped. And these guys will be representing a inexperienced infantry section in my forces. Have a quick look at him. He's just a lieutenant using the plastic 8th Army set. But it's a little bit more generic compared to the one you got in the bolt action set, the 8th Army set, which is well, I think it actually looks more like a captain or a major with his peacock and his pipe. Then we have the Sikh dudes, and I have to say the Games Workshop's range of browns for doing the skin were perfect. The base on this guy was Catachan flesh with a wash of nun oil, then a highlight of Catachan flesh, and then a second highlight of, I think it's Gawthor brown, if you want to do that, and it makes perfect Indian skin, or the darker shade of Indian skin. But yeah, I like this dude. That's a good thing about these plastic kits. Even just by positioning the arms at a slightly different angle, or the head at a slightly different angle, you can just create a little bit more definition in the poses. Right, now on to the 25-pounder. Now this was in Burma at the beginning of the campaign. It would have a gun shield and it would have a muzzle brake. The crew would probably be wearing tin hats, not bush hats. But the difference with this kit to the earlier 25-pounders is it only came in 5 parts, which is the wheels, the axle, the sighting equipment, gun carriage and barrel, which made it far easier to build. There's no fiddly cogs or wheels to glue on, no fiddly seats. So yeah. But during the Pacific campaign, because they were lugging these over hills and mountains and everything, and actually having some of them airlifted in with the troop carrier command, in order to lessen the weight, they actually removed the muzzle brake and the gun shield, and made it far easier to transport up mountains and things like that. So that's why they did it. So technically this is a 1944 gun, but I'm using it in a 1942 force. And here's the third member of the crew. And as I said before, these guys should be in jungle greens, but they would look out of place with the rest of the force. And we've got the Bren carriers. Now we've got the 8th Army Carrier Patrol, which gives you 2 Bren carriers and 12 infantry, which is a bit silly since a Bren carrier can only carry 5 dudes, not 6. There, so that's 1. And this can also double up as a transport for the commander, because we have a radio set in the back. Don't know if you can see that. All the dials and things on that. And then last but not least, the Stuart. This is the M3A1 in American service. In British service, this is the Stuart 3. Now, for the 7th Armoured Brigade, it should be a Stuart 1 or 2, which has the horrifically toxic hexagonal turret, which the Wall of Guns one is abominable to build. It is absolute pain in the arse to build, so I decided not to do it. And luckily I have this painting guide I found on the Tinterwebs, and what they did was they just painted out the 7th Armoured Brigade's Jabara badge, painted it green, the same colour as the tank, which I've done when they repainted the tanks from the desert colours to the jungle colours when they were shipped over in 1942. So yeah, so that's that. That makes my 8th Army force anything up to 1500 points if I use everything. And it gives me a nice base for a Pacific force. So yeah, as usual guys, do check out all the links in the description for everything I can't remember. Do all the YouTube stuff, do all the social media stuff, click on everything, don't click on everything. It does help if you do, which is awesome. Like and subscribe, tell all your friends. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Stay safe, take care, and I'll catch you next time.